You know, you at least get some control. Maybe you control one bridge and use that as a funnel to get everyone into the circle.
Well, the plane is taking us straight over the island, and you can see a lot of players out already. So I think you're right in saying that both teams will send their, I guess, scouting reconnaissance groups down towards the military island. And it seems to me like Turkey is getting the bigger chunk of it. Maybe they've scared Serbia down towards only keeping the Novo area. That could actually be huge if BSD or maybe some more players can go up to the intersection there. They could, well, essentially contain them on the east.
I mean, you're thinking, if the circle now isn't on Milli Circle, if the Turkish players can get to that bridge early enough, can control sort of south of the observatory, then there's no real way out for those Serbian players.
Well, they might be able to take boats. If their teammates are on the Milta side, Milta power side too, they could potentially make their way over that way.
That does be such a disadvantage.
True,
all of those players are now coming to the mainland with no vehicles.
Yes, that would. That's another massive thing, vehicles in this, because you don't just need one vehicle for your duo or 2 or 3 vehicles for the team. You need a hell of a lot of cars in order to really go out and do anything.
32.
Yeah, I mean it's insane. Sometimes we've seen these 10 US rotations where they just got like full cavalry style plows through the opponents.
It works.
It does. It's pretty interesting to watch. It is pretty interesting to watch. Now, it's been pretty evenly split west to east in terms of the team's positions. And, well, I mean, as much as we said we expect Turkey to win this one, seems like the game wants to give Serbia a fair chance here, because they pretty much get to pick exactly where they want to sit. They have 2 of 32 players inside the circle.
I mean, I said at the start, is there any way Serbia wins any maps? This might be it. This might be the way. If they can get a lot of map control here, they can really limit what Turkey can get, especially if they sort of push up to that shelter area and beyond. Then there's just nothing for Turkey to play. They'll be stuck around farm. They'll be stuck around Potato Hill. And if the circle goes anywhere except there, then there's not really much they can do but a massive rotation.
Also, this is a surprisingly small circle. Or is it just me being weird?
I'm pretty sure it's you being weird.
I'm probably being weird. That happens every now and again. Yeah. I think a lot of people in chat can vouch for it too. It happens every now and again that I do say some weird stuff. But we are headed out east, and I'm sitting and thinking on the eyes of the Serbian nail of the Serbian team captain. Where do you want to have your where do you want to gather your forces in a circle like this? Do you want to take that shelter if you get like a square of shelter, prison, warehouse, mansion, control, and then you use that as your big Alamo, and then you kind of just allow the Turkish team to position anywhere else? What would you do here?
The thing with shelter is that there's so little vision. You really cannot see anything. So even people 50 meters to your east, you can't see them. So if I'm looking at this, I'm thinking you actually leave shelter open and you sort of try and bait the Turkish players in there. So if you can control the compound to the north, the warehouse and the big Alamo compound, if you control that, if you control the garage buildings to the south, if you control Lumberyard Hill, the Turkish players will literally be forced into shelter if the circle goes towards there.
Taking for granted that they'll push south around. Because if they decide to push north, which I would be excited, I wouldn't expect it, but if they do decide to push north around, up, not over towards the northern side of the river, but follow along over School and Apps, because I mean they're split pretty much across the from south to north, all the way up to the river, all the way down to Iro on the southern side. And I don't think they want to push in that way. You want to kind of make that bullet head breach forward, or arrowhead breach forward, rather than push as divided as they are right now.
I'm curious if we'll see teams just sort of try and make a death stack and just go as one big group of 32, or if they'll really split into those groups of 8. Because potentially what Turkey could do here is have 3 of those 8s sort of just go into the circle, just take over that western side, and then maybe send 8 players around on a flank all the way around Stalber and try and sneak in on the east. And then at that point, you can try and trap off a group of the Serbian players, and maybe even those Jasnaya players you could trap up in the north. So if the circle then does shift south, you can get 2 or 3 free kills.
Do you know what I want to see? Like a 5-vehicle silent pull-up. Now that that's the thing, could you imagine?
I do love that addition to the game.
Oh my lord, I forgot about this. Guys, there's a lot of stuff in the crates now. You got a QB, and what is it, DBS. You got a Groza, and if you scroll down, I think there's 3 weapons in them, right? Or is there only 2? It's only 2. It's only 2. Okay, so it's a DPS and a Groza.
As crates go, that's quite a disappointing one. 2 guns, and you get a Groza and a shotgun.
Also, I mean, it's very limited how much. I mean, especially, it's different on Sanhok, but especially on Erangel and Miramar, kind of Vikendi 2, I think if you put it in percentages, like pieces of a pie, at least 80% of what happens in these games, it is fights at 50 meters or further apart. Like, you rarely ever get those real up-close battles, unless if everyone somehow manages to stay put and the circle forces you either down on Melee Island or into a city like Georgopol or Yasnaya. It's mainly DMRs that shots at a distance, so, well, Gross on DBS, as you said, not really favorable.
Yeah. Realistically, the Groza is a 7.62 vector. You know, you don't use it beyond like 20, 30 meters. But in this, we do see a lot of crashing. Specifically, if you don't get the circle, you're crashing compounds. And maybe the Groza could come in really handy there. I mean, I really don't like that shotgun. I will never pick it up. I honestly think the S12K is better than it. But there is potentially an opportunity where that Groza might come in handy. You know, if the Serbian players do go towards shelter and you're the one crashing it, then the Groza really is the weapon to have. It
does seem like some sort of strategy has been put into play by the Serbians, because if you look at the split right now, they've pretty much put themselves into two chunks. Essentially, the entire area between shelter and Milta has kind of been left open, and maybe that's part of the plan. Maybe they're trying to lure the Turkish to take that center position with a chance to then push them from both sides.
And we see quite a lot of them staying sort of to the south of Milta. I'm curious if they're trying to catch a
they're
rotation.
Holding the water. Maybe that's what it is. They're waiting for people to rotate underneath.
Because in squads, the two rotations you take here, if you're in a really bad position, is you go south or you go north.
Exactly.
But if you could prevent anyone from taking those angles, then you could probably get it down to sort of the 32v26 quite easily.
I'm sitting and wondering, now that there are red shirts in the game, wouldn't it be cool if it seemed like Turkey, now that they have, I mean, 90% of their flag is red, if they actually did like team shirts? It would, I mean, it would both make it easier for them to see each other, but it was also maybe also make it easier for the opponents to tell.
Well, I think the problem comes then is that you'll have teams. Obviously, if you try to mandate it, you have teams complaining that, oh, this guy's got a green flag, so he can blend in and so on. So you'd have to try and pick two colours.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, else what you'd be really smart to do is, if you know what color the other team is going to pick for their shirt, you try to pick some of them too. It's like to spy your way into their team. Now, the circle did go south.
Still a lot of Serbian control in that. We talk about the people in Milta. So, but there is a lot of opportunity for the Turks to maybe get into farm, get up onto the good old Raptor Road.
Actually, kind of surprised with this circle shift that we haven't seen any of the Serbian players take over farm. Because essentially, at this point, you don't really need Milta anymore.
The thing with
you sent the entire Milta branch up to farm.
It is in the valley. And I personally really don't like going there in any game mode. Obviously, to an extent in this, you just take what's available. But if you're in farm and the circle shifts away, it's so hard to leave. So maybe there's this idea from the Serbian players that we don't want to go down there because we don't want to get stuck. And at the moment, it seems like they're trying to take the high ground, specifically around Milta and around the sort of shelter area.
Trying to get the information as to where they're coming in. MİTHRAİN, we see the team captain on the back. MİTHRAİN always has a private chauffeur. Oh, no, that's MİTHRAİN's driving. MİTHRAİN actually is the one driving, it seems like. We've seen so many times where MİTHRAİN's like, peasant, take me to the next circle spot. Oh, that's not how you want to...
That's my kind of driving.
That's not captain. Maybe that's why he has chauffeurs. Oh, maybe that's why he has a driver, because...
He's been taking lessons from France.
Could be. Now, Turkey are making their way in, and as you said, very correctly stated, they do not have a whole lot of control on this one. They're staying far on the western side. We've yet to lose a single player. Serbia did connect with 31 and not 32, and 6 more beautiful deaths seems to be the ones out to try and gather some info. Some might call them midst of doing DA rotations.
If I'm Turkey here, there are two places I want to get. I want to get right on the south side in the sort of the mini farm compound, it's called, just to the west of Milta. And I also want to take control of the dirt road, where we see sort of the central point of this the Turkish push coming in. If you can get control of that road, A, you get a lot of vision, and B, you get a lot of rotation.
Oh, that's... Ow. Okay, so I said that you don't need Milta. I think right now, Serbia, they need to take some, like, they need to prevent, they can hold them off. They know that all the players are west of them. And you can see how many players from the north are pushing down now. They need to go down and hold that entrance point to Milta.
And now the decision is, do you stay on the edge of the circle and try and just completely hold out those Turkish players? Or do you just go and try and take all the power positions? And it looks like Serbia are focusing on the power positions, on the warehouses and the wizard towers.
The way that we've seen Turkey play these tournaments before is, if you give them just the tiniest bit corner of a nail, they'll take your entire left part of your body. I mean, they are playing so aggressive in this, and they're like, you want to fight? We're gonna come for it. And I don't like the way that Serbia is playing right now. They're kind of holding off. I mean, they're allowing them to push in.
Recognize how empty these yellow houses are. The fact that there's only 3 or 4 players there if they crash that, they're going to be at such an advantage because you get a lot of vision from there. First off.
True.
And also, they can start to put it as a sort of a 5-6 kill advantage if they can take it. And it looks like they're going to center up on it.
Maybe this is exactly what the Serbian team wanted. Though you can see, you talked about farm being that kind of valley point. They're essentially all in the valley. I mean, this is Simbo and Mufasa right before all the ruthless animals comes running.
But what Serbia needs to do is they need to put more players towards Milta, towards those yellow houses, towards where we see the players sort of to the north of the Turkish players, because there's a lot of opportunity for these Turkish players to just do a big grouped attack onto one of these positions just to get 4 or 5 kills for free. There's really nothing those two Western groups can do if they do get attacked.
Yeah, there are not that many people. They need to make it sound like they're 15 when they're only 4. It ain't gonna be easy because now it seems like all the Turkish players are playing on foot, and I don't see why they shouldn't. But I am kind of excited to figure out how many FPS they have when they're all running around down there.
Probably single digits.
I was gonna say it's not gonna be a lot, that's for sure. But they have kind of committed them to the very western corner, and if this circle goes east, I'm a little confused right now why the main force of Serbia is still up on Lumber where they can't see anything. Why not sit them down in Milta? Because this circle, again, not gives them a little more space.
But now the Turkish players have to go to those yellow houses.
Yeah, and why do they only have so few players in that area? I mean, if you're Serbia in this, you don't want to have all your forces hiding up on the hill, essentially.
Well, it actually does look like the Serbians are backing off. You see one guy at the yellow house now and one guy to the north. So it looks like the Serbians are sort of trying to play for that late game, which is something we don't really see much. So maybe this is a sort of a strategy that they want to play.
Well, I mean, it is a strategy.
I just
don't know if it's the smarter one, because they're essentially they're doing just what we said before. They were the team with the command. If they get the entire left-hand side of the road now, Turkey, they're going to be the ones with the backs against the wall in the next circle.
I mean, you're looking at this now. It's essentially a 50-50. Does it go west? Does it go east? Yeah. There is a little bit more room on the eastern side of that road, which will make it slightly easier for Serbia if it does go that way. But if it goes west, then Turkey have just won the game.
This is going to be super fun to see. Once, as we said, guys, despite us not having lost a player, there was one, I think it was BSD knocked. And I think it was a vehicle earlier, yeah, exactly. Other than that, there hasn't been anybody down so far, but we're 12-12 right now. I think when we reach 15 minutes, we're going to be losing quite a few.
They're using all their utility on this house because the Serbian players
there must be players there.
If you're looking at this circle, the fact that the Serbians had that control, I don't think any of these Turkish players are thinking, it's going to be free. They just walked up, and now they've got so much more control than they had. Just with no aggression.
This is the only reason I could make sense of them backtracking so much, is because there is a really open stretch from the road up to that eastern side, and they will have the high ground position to kind of count it out. Now, that's a nifty crate. Turkey gets one more of those.
Better than the other one.
Yeah. But it does require that the next circle goes hard northeast as well, and you can't really bank on that.
If you get sort of a centralized circle, or if you get a western circle, even a southern circle, then it really is a 50-50.
Yeah.
I kind of want it to go south, just where we have that sort of yellow houses, and the Serbian players will focus on the Milta area, because it will sort of turn into 2 trenches.
You just cannot peek this. I mean, Kalendor, there's like 16 ARs or 16 DMRs looking at you. It's just we got a first kill. Navik has gone down. MF4 finds himself once. That's going to tie things up at 31 apiece.
And the Serbians actually are... If you look at it, the fact that they have all this high ground on the east means that there's really not that much cover for the Turkish players to take in the open.
You can see, I mean, this is the perfect view. This is the perfect view right here. If they have to cross that road, they're going to be running into essentially turrets that are already lined up. You can see how they've positioned all around the wizard houses, all around the different hard cover positions. And I'm feeling kind of bad for Shadow and his teammate down here, because they are very alone. Yeah,
I mean, they're basically lambs to the slaughter at that point. Their only job is to try and get 1 or 2 knocks before they die.
So they are the bait. Essentially, it's wave 1 in any game with waves. Like the one that's like, why did they even add this wave?
And I'm looking at this, and you have like 10 players at least in this northern compound for Serbia. And whilst it does have good vision, whilst it does have good vision, I sort of want them to have maybe a few more in those southern compounds, because now if the Turkish players recognise that there's not that many, if they can get a crash going now, maybe take that centre compound, then they could actually still win this.
Turkey's going to send it to the east. And we talk about, that's when there's another thing with communication. Reaction, you have to be so fast. You have to be able to react so damn fast. And right now, I mean, now the Serbian players are coming down to stack up on these 2 different positions. But look at how far the Turkish players have already made it. They're essentially inside the circle. MİTHRAİN spots one. It's going to be BSD to find him. Shadow does go down. The lambs for the slaughter have indeed been killed. Now Rista with... Rista has a gas can. No, I thought Rista was going to shoot the gas can and take like X amount of Turkish players with him, but that's not the case, unfortunately. And now this is where things start to get chaotic.
Yeah, but this is where we're just going to see knock after knock after knock.
Yeah.
It's a 31 to 28 advantage for Turkey at the minute. But you look at that circle, the amount of map control that the Serbians have in these compounds, they can start to sort of enfilade. If they can position a lot of players around foreign, this entire area just becomes completely open to the Serbian players.
It's going to be quite interesting to see how they decide to play this one. They're all caught, except for Free. Free is kind of doing his own thing up on the northern side. Now he's getting shot at too. But all the Turkish players, as you can see right here, are kind of caught down around the checkpoint or the roadblock towards Milta. And with this next circle, if it goes northeast, this could be a slaughter.
I'm thinking these Serbian players in the centre compound, they're the sort of the win condition for the team. If they can hold on to that compound against all odds, 1 man to 4, then that is the win.
Like, this is going to be a 300 type hold. Like they're going to be completely outnumbered. They will need those teammates up the hills to land some majestic shots. If they also think about the amount of smokes they have available. The thing is, for Turkey, they have left most of the vehicles behind already.
Yeah, they didn't take any to this.
Exactly.
This sort of valley
they all
area,
crossed on
now
foot.
It's so hard to crash. If they kept a couple of vehicles, maybe some of them would have got blown up.
Sixmo's pushing up. Sixmo is, I mean, he's found a path underneath. He's essentially found the back door around.
The problem is, if he goes west, he's going to be seen by the eastern compound. So he has to try and find sort of that timing to get into the compound. But we see a lot of Turkish players are starting to get knocked.
But if he can get enough players down there, they could essentially do like a smoke wall push up towards the hill. And just having 2 players up there right now, that's massive in terms of like info and control of the circle.
What they need to do now is they need to get into that center compound. And this shift might be perfect for Turkey.
Because now all the players on the northern side, they have to push down to that one. I mean, you cannot fit 28 players in one building. I mean, technically,
you can fit around 10, 15. There are a couple of little ridges you can play around there. So if they can sort of get control of that eastern side, start taking out the players that are in Milta, who do need to come up into the open. We see where Marco is going now. If the sort of the eastern compound push a little bit south, that entire area is open. So if they can try and get some kills, try and make this at least a balanced game, maybe a couple in their advantage, even though there's not much to play, they should still be in the sort of the strong position.
Right now, the fact that Sixmo pushed around the side and got this eastern position, they're holding them off. Look at how much they just sent all their players up on that side.
Just killed 2 of his teammates.
Oh, that's not optimal. That's not a smoke.
He's killed Nate.
But look at how much they can contain them now on that eastern side. Because Sixmo pushed up and took the info, they have so much control of the southeastern side of the circle, and it's going to completely prevent them from pushing down
Lipson's
around. Lipson is crashing the compound,
own.
but he went down. I like the idea, but execution wasn't there.
Yeah, but realistically, this eastern compound, they're all dead. There is no way out of this compound bar some miracle gunfight. Cannondor now is going on that eastern compound. We see it's going to get the first knock yet, just about. Scope goes down as well.
This could very well become the downfall of Serbia. They don't have a whole lot to play from anymore. They are inside the circle with the house, which they don't have to leave just yet. But you can see all the Turkish players have found half the troops up the hill, and they're getting naded all over the place. Multiple players taken down as we speak, and there's only 2 or 3 people left in this house.
Absolute chaos as we see about 20 players fighting for one little compound. But what Turkey's doing now is they're extending their advantage. 8 players ahead now.
They are playing it very, very, very well up on this side of the circle. You can see how they push further up. They try to make sure that there are no players left alive, and I think we can count it to 1 or 2 players in this entire garage building. Now Diegos outside with the nade, trying to help his teammates out, but they're already dropping 10 players behind now for the Serbians.
Diegos goes down as well. He wasn't able to do any damage whatsoever to the Turkish team, so that eastern compound is cleared out now, and it's only up to the central compound. Bit of a proper Alamo going on here.
Yeah, this is a full-on stand, and you can see all the Turkish players are swarming. Smokes everywhere. 16, make that 15 versus 28, and I am only seeing kills in the favor of Serbia. They are full-on sprinting aboard. This is like a zombie game mode where you have to hold off, and there's no way in hell this is happening.
24 tonight. I mean, there is no way. Nailov has to do something absolutely incredible here to even have a chance.
In all fairness, 1 nade can easily take out like 15 players if they all keep bundling up like that, but I'm just not seeing them getting any kills. Nailov all by himself. 5 players down. They all get taken down with the last explosion. Turkey wins the game, and they only lost 8 players.
You have to look at that and think Serbia just needs a little bit of aggression early on. Just to make it...
They just never dared.
Yeah, they just need to make it sort of a 4 to 5 player advantage, and then